Hello and welcome to PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz, and today we are going through Super Wildcard Weekend, everybody. It's been a long 17 weeks. You can check out the Wednesday edition of this pod for an exclusive breakdown of every wildcard game, but have a special guest on today to dive into, a little more of the nitty-gritty stuff from the weekend that we all definitely care about. You've heard him on this podcast before. NFL analyst from The Ringer. You can hear him on the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. Truly has one of the best draft guides in the entire industry. Danny Kelly. Danny, thanks for coming on again, man, and happy wildcard weekend.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. It's crazy. We were just talking before the show, like it's this week set or whatever, the regular season is over. This is like sneaks up on you, man. It's playoffs already. Kind of bizarre, but exciting because there's this new format, 6 games during the wild card weekend. It's just all new and exciting, and yeah, I'm excited.
It's wild, man. Like we had, for so long, 16, games a week, just had to really crunch all of our time. And now we have more time to study all these teams. It's like, I'm almost catching myself just going through the emotions with some of it, but it's like, no, hold on. Like we have time to actually try to improve the product if we want to. So as we usually do with this podcast, I got 10 questions here for Danny. Again, mostly will be related to the wildcard weekend, but we might get just a little bit off topic as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Danny mentioned this before, but you came on the podcast back in August. We did a fun 10 commandments for your fantasy football draft episode. One thing you noted that I thought was very smart then, still maintains now, was to hitch a wagon to high scoring offenses. Well, here we are. Bills ranked second in scoring, and Josh Allen is absolutely humming. Do you consider the Bills the number one challenger to the Chiefs AFC throne?
I do. Yeah. I think it's like there's a clear number one tier in the NFL right now. For me, at least, it's the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Packers. And then like basically all the other teams are a full, there's a pretty big gap between those 3 teams and everybody else in my mind. Just like the way that they're playing offensively, it doesn't even look so. I mean, obviously the Chiefs have kind of had, some subpar, maybe not quite as good as we'd expected performances on offense, but I still think they're capable of just going absolute buzzsaw on people. But like the Packers and the Bills, it doesn't even look like they're trying sometimes. They are just so good right now. So, tuned in, so in sync with each other. Josh Allen obviously has been a revelation. And I think like if any team is going to go toe to toe with the Chiefs in terms of scoring points, and hitting explosive plays and all that, it's the Bills. And their defense is getting kind of hot at the right time too. I wouldn't say they're like an elite defense or anything, but they're good enough to like, slow down opposing offenses and give them a chance to like do what they're going to do on offense. And the other thing about the Bills that maybe is a little bit underreported or underrated is like how pass heavy they've been this year. Like they're one of the top neutral situation pass teams in the NFL. They're just throwing the hell out of the ball. And I mean, I can't really blame him with the way that Josh Allen is playing right now. He's just, tearing people up. So yeah, I would say the Bills to me look like the clear challenger to the Chiefs. And it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if they were the ones that were in the Super Bowl by the time this is all over.
It seems like their quote unquote weaknesses are like the exact things that if you aren't going to be great in this, it's okay in the year 2020. Running the ball, like, okay, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, they haven't exactly just dominated all year, but they're throwing the hell out of it, to your point, because they haven't been able to all season long. And you just look how smart they've been really in every situation. They had that Rams game like in week 4. I think they, ran the ball like 4 total times in the entire first half. And like, yeah, and like you look at their run defense, and okay, it's a bad run defense, but I mean, look at the one game where they really got exposed. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes bonkers. I don't know, man. Like, I don't mind putting the game, forcing the Chiefs to hand the ball off to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and having Patrick Mahomes stand back there. They lost that game, but I think it was a decent enough strategy, man. And you look at, Havoc, which is another fun stat I've been looking at a lot lately. It's tackles for a loss, forced fumbles, interceptions, batted passes, and pressure divided by plays. Top 4 defenses this year: Steelers, Buccaneers, Saints, and the Bills. I think the defense is coming on at the right time. And Josh Allen, if he keeps playing this way, he can take on anybody.
And that's the kind of defense that you want to focus on. That's an interesting set. I've never seen that. That's you have to show me where to find that. But I mean, it's like those impact plays, like turnovers, takeaways, things that get other teams off schedule, like sacks, and like you're saying, it's just that's like a really good glimpse, I think, into the total quality of your defense, like the playmaking of your defense. So, man, good stat. I like that.
Yeah, try to take away those big plays, get one disruption, and then maybe you can get off the field. So, all right. So, of course, the Bills have to get by Phillip Rivers and the Colts first. We've seen Jonathan Taylor really come on recently. This defense has multiple blue chip talents in Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner. The Colts, 6.5-point underdogs, man. They deserve to be the largest AFC underdog, because I know you're not, just the Mr. Gambling connoisseur necessarily, but
Right.
Titans plus 3.5, Browns plus 6. Indy, really?
I would say, maybe as we get closer to the game, like the Browns will start, the gap will be bigger just because they have all the COVID issues right now. And like their coach isn't even going to be able to, like Stefanski is not going to be able to coach them. They've got several major players on the COVID list not going to play this week. So that might, the spread might get bigger or whatever as we get closer to the weekend. But deserve is probably not the right word, I would say, in the sense, but like I do think it makes sense to me just logically the way that the Bills have been playing lately. They've just absolutely gone scorched earth on people. I mean, they went and played the Dolphins, who were playing for a chance to get into the playoffs. Like they were playing for their lives, and they dropped 56 on that defense. That was the number one scoring defense in the NFL, the best defense in the NFL in terms of points allowed before that game. And they just absolutely sliced and diced them. So to me, I'm not taking away from anything from the Colts. I just think the Bills are really locked in right now. And, the whole cliche of getting hot at the right time, like they are doing that. They're playing like there's, you're a big believer in the swag, right? Like
Always.
You look good, you play good. Like the Bills just are feeling themselves right now. And so I think that all makes sense. I guess the one reservation I would have is they don't have a ton of playoff experience. I guess that's like the one variable that makes me like pause a little bit, but that only matters until it doesn't matter, I guess. And I think that the way that they're playing right now, it's not going to matter.
As a wise man once said, look good, feel good, play good. But yeah, man, with that Bills game, it was wild. I was doing a pregame show, and when I'm not at live, they usually kind of just cut to me for the end of a segment. So I kind of have, I can put bets down if I want, or set DraftKings, whatever I want to do, behind the scenes. But I see the news that Matt Barkley's going to play a good amount of snaps, and I was like, oh, Dolphins 3.5, season on the line. Let's pound this. Oh my God, dude. 10 minutes in the game, pretty much. I'm like, well, I just wasted far too much money to be throwing against Josh Allen and company. They have been crushing it. And yeah, I mean, if the Bills just keep on, 6.5 might look small at the end of it. And the Browns, yeah, I mean, I think, they lost their guard, Batonio. Stefanski, is it that big of a loss not having your head coach, you think? Because he's still going to be able to game plan the entire week. It's not like this happened on Saturday. I mean, how much importance do you place on Stefanski not being live at the game?
I don't know. That's one of those questions where
it's tough to
really
measure.
Don't know the answer.
Yeah.
It is. It's impossible to measure. And I think ultimately, like, I feel like I waffle because a lot of the times it's like, man, coaching is so important in the NFL. Like you see these teams that are poorly coached, and it's like they just stood no chance. But on the other hand, like you have to have your players play. Like the players have to execute. So it's clearly a balance. I would say it's a pretty big disadvantage to not have Stefanski, though, because to me, like he's done such a good job this season with them, and like gotten them on the right track. You can't overstate like how bad the coaching has been for the Browns and for like a decade or more. And so having a guy like him who kind of like puts them on an even keel and keeps them going in the right direction, I think that's like important. So but I couldn't tell you honestly like how the day-to-day, the play calling and the communication, all that's probably going to be a big effect. I just have no clue how big of a factor it's going to be.
Definitely. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, 5th most sensitive quarterback this year in terms of pressure, just drop off in yards per attempt under pressure versus kept clean. Stefanski deserves so much credit for what he's done in that passing game. At least it's not happening like on, Saturday or Friday. At least they will be that game plan in, but certainly does not help matters come game time. All right, Dan. So I had an article come out today. I outlined every playoff team's best potential path to Super Bowl, no matter how unlikely. I included at the end of the, Bears and the football team. Like you might need a couple drinks first, but the one interesting one was the Rams. And I basically said they need to be 2015 Broncos good on defense in order to carry this offense. Do you think, though, in today's NFL, in the year 2021 now, that a historically great defense is still capable of dragging a team to the title? And if so, which defense do you think in this playoff structure has the best chance of doing so?
To answer the first part of the question, my instinct says no. Like even like an elite defense, there's just so many things stacked against defenses right now, especially in the season when they're not really calling holding. I don't know. Have you looked at the numbers in the second half of the season if they've changed at all? Because I know in the first half of the season they weren't calling a holding hardly at all.
I haven't seen the new numbers, but it was so wild after the first 5 weeks.
And I mean, if you look at the total number of points, the total number of touchdowns scored, there's record numbers of rushing and receiving / passing touchdowns this season forever, like for the entire NFL's history, both rushing and receiving. So like that just tells you offenses have gone absolutely scorched earth this year. And I think just the way that the game is played, the way that the referees are slanted, the rules are slanted for the offense, it makes it very, very difficult for a defense to dominate a game. Now, that said, in the playoffs, like there's, such a small sample that there is obviously that like opportunity for these defenses to dominate. A couple teams, I mean, obviously there's some pretty good defenses. Like the Colts are a good defense. The Rams are a great defense. The Buccaneers can play defense at an elite level. I think they have been a little bit off or up and down, I guess, this year. Washington, I think, is a good defense, but I can't see them dragging. I can't see their defense dragging that team to the Baltimore. Baltimore has a great defense. I don't think they're going to have to get dragged offense to the championship, so that might be a moot point. The Rams are probably the best example because like their offense has been so bad lately, or up and down. And what I like about Los Angeles is not just the fact that their coach Staley has just been really, really like a revelation this year in what he's done. But when you got like those blue chips like Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald who can neutralize like your best players, that changes the whole dynamic of a game to me. Like Ramsey can take away, like they're playing the Seahawks this week. Ramsey could just take away DK Metcalf, like take him out of your offense. And think about how much that changes the Seahawks offense. Aaron Donald, he can completely just wreck a game plan by just being so dominant and disruptive up front. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think in the year 2020, I guess it's 2021 technically now, but in the season of 2020, I don't see a defense like dominating the playoffs. But if it is going to be one, I could see the Rams doing it just because they have the coordinator, the play calling, and the two blue chip studs that can like completely change like the dynamic of a game.
No, I'm with you. I try to just go through a bunch of defensive stats to try to see who has the best overall unit. And the Saints were surprisingly pretty close to the Rams. But I think overall, when you just look at how good the pass defense in particular has been, it's got to go to the Rams. And yeah, you mentioned really just whole new scheme Brandon Staley has brought to the team. Everyone check out Robert Mace's excellent breakdown on Brandon Staley and that scheme via The Athletic, one of the better football articles I have read this season. All right, so I want to talk about the Seahawks. They're facing the Rams. Obviously, massive quarterback advantage. Seahawks have won 6 of their last 8, but man, way more of a ball control offense than the juggernaut we saw during the first half of the year. They're getting back the win by run the ball and playing great defense mantra. I get it. It's troubling though because they got a lot of tough matchups on the horizon. You look at their past 6-8 games, not that many tough opponents. Danny, can Russ and this offense turn around, or are we poised to see yet another frustrating playoff exit from a team with a generational quarterback? I hate the word, but
I know. Yeah. Just to go back 1 second, I would be remiss. Like I totally did not mention the Saints and the Steelers defensive suit. There's actually a lot of really good defenses.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to say that. But getting to the Seahawks, yeah, I mean, I think I don't have a lot of confidence. I would say that the Seahawks are going to all of a sudden turn things around. The problem is a lot of it is like, number one, philosophically, I think Pete Carroll has like just hammered it home to Russell Wilson, like don't turn the ball over. Like turning the ball over is the worst thing that you can do. It is, if you turn the ball over, we're going to lose. That's like essentially what he's telling Russell Wilson. In addition to that, I think Wilson has been, for lack of a better word, like gun shy lately, like just not pulling the trigger on tight window throws, not being aggressive. They've hardly hit any deep shots over the last few weeks. I know, I heard the great Greg Cosell talking about how DK Metcalf hadn't had like a 20+ yard reception in like a month. And so that could have changed last week. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like, that's just, that factor, that variable is a big deal to me. Like, and Russell and the Seahawks in general, like are just not, Wilson's game isn't like dink and dunk, move the chains, like get the ball out quick. That's not really his game. Like he's running around the backfield trying to make like a 30-yard bomb downfield. So can they figure it out? Yeah. They have Wilson, they've got DK Metcalf, like it's possible, but just the way that they've been playing, I don't know, like especially against a team like the Rams who kind of just know them so well and have had their number in the past. It doesn't look promising. I think this first game, if they can get past the Rams, anything goes. But this week, the game is, I think, going to be like a low scoring slog, and they're just going to have essentially, like I said, they're going to try not to turn the ball over. And if they don't turn the ball over, they think they're going to get in a good position to win. I guarantee you, after watching the last 10 years of the Seahawks play, it's going to come down to the final possession. There's going to be like a minute left in the game, and we're going to be like, I don't know who's going to win this game. Like, it's going to come down to the final possession, I guarantee you. So I'm just readying myself for that. I'm, as some people know, I'm a Seahawks fan, so this is just like torturous to me.
As your coworker Kevin Clark so eloquently put it that one time, the Seahawks have never ever played a regular game. Do not expect that to change in this spot. Yeah. So, man, one crazy stat I found, because remember, it's, Russell Wilson, I've seen these Cowboys games, the Packers game last year. Like, he just has these great games and he doesn't throw enough. In 13 of 15 career playoff games, 31 or fewer passes from Russell Wilson. I get it. They've been winning with the ball control, but you look since week 12, they faced the Eagles, the Giants, the Jets, the football team, the Rams, and the 49ers. 23 or fewer points to all of them, under 250 passing yards. It's good. The defense is playing better. They can only play, up to whoever they're playing, but you do wonder how this is going to persist now that they finally got to play better defenses and probably better offenses. Real quick, while we're on this game, I've seen people float around this idea. Are the Rams better off with John Wolford or Jared Goff under center?
I mean, I guess first you have to answer the question, like, how healthy is Goff? Like, is his hand good? But if a healthy Goff, obviously I think they're going to go with Goff, and they're probably better off them. Like, and it's the same idea, like, I think they would be able to hit bigger plays in the passing game with Goff in theory. Just what McVay can like design in that offense, the way he's able to get guys open. I've seen Goff, work the Seahawks before. I've seen the McVay in that offense just completely, dominant. And maybe not like lately, but like over the years, they've had some battles and the Seahawks have just got run out of stadium in a couple of those. And so like I wouldn't put it past the Rams to come out and have a good game with Goff under center. That said, I think like the idea and the argument for Wolford is what he can do with his legs. It's not like his passing necessarily, but it's just like he's a little more dynamic. And we've seen so many times this year that Goff, if his first read isn't open, or if something happens like where the pressure comes at the middle or the pocket isn't just good for him, like it completely falls apart. And that's not, and it's the different dynamic with Wolford because he can like make things happen with his legs. He can escape. It's just, and the Seahawks have had trouble with mobile quarterbacks in the past. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, bottom line, they're probably better off with Goff, but I could see the argument for going with Wolford just because of what he does with his legs, and that's given the Seahawks trouble in the past too. Is when you have a mobile quarterback who can scramble and who can run, they can do design run stuff. That's good for third downs. You can move the chains, and I don't have a ton of faith in Goff honestly right now, like just the way he's been playing. So sometimes the grass is always greener in terms of like your mindset. But if I was coaching the Rams, I'd probably go with Goff.
Yeah, if Goff is healthy, you got to give it to him. You got, all those millions of reasons why. And also, to your point, Goff looks so bad when he's under pressure, but he's awesome when he can just see his receiver open. The McVay's, the play he had in his mind happens on the field. Goff can put the ball there. But only Drew Lock had a larger drop off in yards per attempt under pressure versus Kev Clean. Certainly a boom bust quarterback back there. All right, so in the playoffs as a whole, we got a lot of great wide receivers: Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans. A list goes on. And yet here come the Ravens with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews to complement Lamar Jackson. Man, how differently would you look at this Ravens team as a whole, as a contender, if they could add a legit top 15 talent at wide receiver? Because we heard the Antonio Brown rumors in the offseason, but nothing came to it. Baker got OBJ, Josh Allen got Diggs, Kyler got Hopkins. I feel like a lot of these young quarterbacks have gotten blessed by a top wide receiver. Lamar has not been one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to answer. Yeah, I think it'd be awesome for them. It'd be a huge, huge bonus. And I think we've seen Marquise Brown has like picked things up over the last like 6 weeks or whatever. He's had actually a pretty good stretch run here for the season. And the difference that makes in their offense is huge. And I'm a Marquise Brown fan, and I have high hopes for him in the long run. He just wasn't very good for most of the season. And that I think was a big part of why their passing game was so bad. And they have like, Miles Boykin hasn't really developed. Devin Duvernay is still a rookie, and he's just kind of like a gadget guy at this point in time. Willie Snead being your kind of like your veteran number one, like that's not gonna, there's nothing to write home about. So I think it absolutely would be a huge thing for him. I mean, look at the difference that Stephon Diggs has made for Josh Allen. And I think Josh, you can't take away from what Josh Allen has done. Like obviously he improved a lot himself, but like getting a guy like that who can get open whenever he wants, and who can make plays, at the catch point, do stuff after the catch. I think that would be huge for Lamar. And it has to be taken into account. Like some of the problems they've had with their passing game has just been like, they don't have that much talent at the receiver position. So I think it would be a huge deal. I mean, look at what Hopkins going over to the Cardinals. That certainly helped with Kyler. And I think the same deal, if they go out and get like, Allen Robinson or something this offseason, like that would be sweet for Lamar.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I proposed this question on Twitter, and I basically said, who would you pick to win straight up in a neutral stadium if the Ravens and Bills both somehow had Stephon Diggs? Got about 5,000 votes, and 55% of you did say the Ravens would be better. There were a lot of people that just said, hey, Lamar can't throw anyway. Why would adding a wide receiver change this? People, we had the exact same conversation about Josh Allen for the better part. Same, man. Like, I understand that we have not seen just pinpoint accuracy from Lamar or Josh Allen in 2018, 2019, but like, what? No one on earth is arguing. I know PFF wants to say every position doesn't matter. I don't think we've ever said wide receiver doesn't matter. Everybody realizes this. Give the guy some ballers to throw to. That should be, I mean, I know we haven't gotten to the offseason needs just yet, but that's got to be the Ravens' number one priority for 2021.
Yeah. And honestly, like you said, it's the exact same discussion, same argument. Coming out, Josh Allen, the big hit on him was he's not accurate. And in 2019, he was literally the least accurate deep ball thrower in the NFL. He was the worst. And so that's what people are talking about with Lamar this year. Like he has been bad. Like when he tries to throw outside the numbers, it's usually a little bit overthrown or whatever. And the touch isn't there, but that's what we were exactly saying with Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen is a bit of an outlier. So maybe Lamar never gets there. But I certainly don't think it hurts to like get him some weapons, get him that sporting cast. That's always important for a young quarterback. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like a no-brainer.
Let's find out first, and if he doesn't improve, okay. But let's at least
exactly.
Let's at least try to find out. All right, I want to talk about the Titans a little bit because they're basically like the inverse Steelers at this point. Fantastic offense, awful defense. I mean, legit bottom 5 defense in terms of EPA per play this year. But hey, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee can keep up with anybody, and yet they're the only home underdog in the playoffs. Who do you like in Titans Ravens straight up, and why?
I like the Ravens a little bit, and I think and that's actually kind of hard to say because I really like what the Titans are doing. Like, I'm a huge Tannehill stan. I think he's been awesome. Like, he's still not getting enough credit. Derrick Henry's obviously awesome. AJ Brown's awesome. You're wide receiver 1, right?
Oh yes,
you guy.
Always AJ being wide receiver 1 season.
He's amazing. So I love that offense, but I think the Ravens are more balanced, and I think that their offense is getting hot at the right time. And honestly, like, it's a bad matchup for the Titans. And, again, we said this last year. That was the weird, like when the Titans beat the Ravens in the divisional round, I believe it was like, that was the weirdest game. Like, there's so many things that happen in that game that would like you couldn't have guessed or predicted that things like that would happen. I'm guessing that's not going to happen again this year. So I'm going with the Ravens here, and I can see why they are favored, right? Like, I can understand that their offense is clicking. Their defense has been really, really strong all year. Like, we don't really talk about the Ravens defense, but like, they're just solid. Yeah. And so I think with the way that Lamar's been playing, the way that they can, in theory, I know this is a cliche, but they can control the clock. They can control possessions, like limit the amount of possessions the Titans have. And I think that gives them an advantage. So I'm going with the Ravens by a bit here, but I do like both of these teams a lot.
Yeah, I would just say, on PFF.com, Seth Galina wrote a good feature on just how the MVP version of Lamar Jackson has been showing back up. You can look through the schedule, and it hasn't been pretty, and I did use that to talk about the Seahawks defense, but they are blowing these teams out. They're doing exactly what you should be doing to bad teams. Right. Nobody has a better point differential than the Ravens this year. Lamar's running better than ever. And yeah, I mean, look, even his, passing ability in the intermediate areas of the field has improved a little bit in this second half of the year. So if the Titans were just going to really put the game on Ryan Tannehill's back, I feel like they would have a better chance, which hurts me to say. I'm not trying to take anything away from Derrick Henry, but I'm just worried that if Henry doesn't go for 200 yards and he gets 20 plus carries, it seems like that's a losing formula.
Yeah. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and get him going. And there's like a scenario I can see where they try and get him going for a little too long. And then at that point, like they're behind by too much. You know what I mean? Especially with the way that the Ravens are playing. So if they can't get the run game going at the beginning of the game and they just kind of like stick with it a little too long, I could see that being a bad thing. But like you said, if they really lean on Tannehill and like go pretty fat, like pass heavy on first and second down, I could see this being, a pretty good game for them. So that's kind of like, I'm very interested to see how like they coach this and how like they approach it.
100%. So kind of staying on this topic, I mean, the idea that running backs don't matter, I think it's been so overblown. Obviously, a position that touches the ball 20 plus time per game matters. If you've played, football at any level, really up until college, like your best players either playing running back or quarterback because they touch the ball more than anybody. So I think the idea, more of a roster building principle than anything, it's just the reality. When you have a salary cap, you just don't pay as much to running back. I understand that, but looking across the wild card round, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry standing out as the big three stud RBs. Danny, let's say we got a neutral offense and situation. Which of these three RBs would you most want to have on your team for the next 5 years?
This is so impossible of a question to answer. It's, first of all, they're all like completely different style. Like Alvin Kamara is like smaller, shifty, pass catching style guy. Derrick Henry is like give him 35 carries and like let him do work type of deal. And then I feel like I'm going with Nick Chubb, I think, because he's sort of right in the middle. He's not as big and physically dominant as Derrick Henry, but he's explosive as hell. Like he's probably the most explosive runner in the NFL, pure runner. He's got the speed, he's got the shiftiness, the explosion. I've made it like a joke, like his feet just grip the ground differently than every other human being on earth. Like he just has better traction than people for some reason. It's like he's wearing like magnetic shoes when everybody else is like slipping around on the ice. It's crazy. But he just really like, that's like the difference he makes as a runner. Like he's cutting faster than guys, like he's getting up to top speed faster than everybody else. I don't think he's like a zero in the passing game. Like you can use him in the passing game a little bit. So I guess I would probably go with Chubb. I lean towards like the pass catching side a little bit because I think that running backs that can, factor on in the passing game a lot really make it tough on a defense. So I'd probably lean Chubb and then Kamara, but like, I mean, how do you argue against Henry? Like the way that dude plays, you know what I mean? Like it's a philosophical thing. Love all three of those guys, but yeah, I'm going Chubb. Who you got to answer that question?
Oh, I am. I'm coming back. I am with you. I do think in this situation, neutral, team and everything, I do think Chubb makes the most sense because we don't know if he can't be a good receiving back or not. He caught 16 of 18 targets this year, no drops. I mean, he had that one catch as a rookie, I think it was against the Bengals, where he like legit mossed this dude on a wheel route for a touchdown. Like it's not his fault. They have one of the game's best receiving backs in Kareem Hunt there. Derrick Henry, just get him the ball on screens and stuff. I get that too. He's not necessarily awful, but no, I do think Nick Chubb makes the most sense in this quirky little scenario I've driven up here for us. So I want to talk about Kamara's team though, because the Saints, they sputtered in recent playoff performances. The Vikings, I think, have really brought this to fruition when they just restricted underneath areas of the field. Just things have been tough. And hey, the Bears defense, maybe not the same world beaters we saw in 2018, but we know they're still capable of some good things. Mitch Trubisky has led this offense at 30 plus points against everyone other than the Packers since he got his job back. Danny, on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you in the Bears pulling off the week's biggest upset and knocking off the Saints?
I would say maybe like a 2 or a 3. I'm not real confident. I definitely think it's like in the realm of possibility because weird stuff always happens in the playoffs. But I mean, man, did you see Trubisky's passing chart from last week? It was like legitimately everything except for one completion, I should say, was within like 5 yards. Everything.
Bad.
And so they were obviously like hiding him and trying to like mitigate his impact, his negative impact. Obviously, you want your quarterback to have a big positive impact and make big plays, but it didn't seem like they trust him at all. Going back the previous like 3 games or whatever, 4 games before that, he had looked pretty good. Like the way that they'd schemed up the offense around him, a lot of play action, getting him on the outside on naked bootlegs, using him in the run game a little bit, like that all works. But I think it's like crucial for the Bears to get their run game going like they have had over the last month or so in this game. And the Saints are just so good defensively. Like I could see them kind of bottling that up, focusing on that, and things could go haywire for this offense with Trubisky, like trying to carry them. So if the Saints, I feel like if the Saints can take Montgomery kind of out of it, the Bears could be in trouble here. So, and I feel like that's probably the most, likely thing to happen in this one.
Yeah. Mitch Trubisky this year on passes thrown at least 20 yards downfield, 6 completions on 33 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, 5.2 yards per attempt. The only quarterback worse with at least 20 attempts, Dwayne Haskins, who does currently not have a job. Not great for Mitch. I'm with you. It's too much, man. He actually has, like, in fantasy land, I was hoping, because sometimes not good fantasy quarterback isn't a good real life quarterback. And that was like a striking thing I found yesterday, because Trubisky, if you want to play DFS, he's had like 4 weeks this year where he's been a top 11 quarterback. He runs the ball around a little bit, but wanted to see if that translated to PFF passing grade. No, he's had like one decent game all season long. And yeah, man, I'm off. Yeah. I think the Saints roll fairly easy, particularly getting Michael Thomas back. I feel like he's just gotten too disrespected at this point. Quit the slant.
Thomas. Yeah, I know, dude, for real. He makes a huge impact on their offense. He's like such a good route runner. I feel like, honestly, the knock on him, like, he doesn't go deep or whatever, but it's like, that's not really their offense. It's more like on the quarterback in my mind. So don't knock Thomas for like being the safety net / like quarterback's best friend, or like he's just doing what their offense needs him to do.
He had Brandon Cooks as a rookie, but since then he's had old man Ted Ginn as a number 2, Emmanuel Sanders this year, but he's been hurt, noodle arm Breeze, and then Taysom freaking Hill. Like, what do you want the guy to do? Alvin Kamara is spectacular. He's not exactly clearing out more space in the underneath areas of the field. I mean, hey, if we're looking at, the Saints in the future, let's say Jameis Winston wins that job. Michael Thomas, like, he could even have a higher ceiling with the quarterback that could actually push the ball downfield more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, would you rather have him like running wind sprints and just running downfield, not getting any targets? So, yeah, I mean, I think he's an outstanding, one of the best receivers in the game.
Absolutely. All right. So excluding the Chiefs and Packers, who were good enough to get their first round buys, which playoff team from this year do you think will be in the best position to win next year?
That's a great question. There's a couple of them here. My first thought is the Bills seem set up to be good for a long time with Josh Allen, with Stephon Diggs, the coaching staff there. The one thing that worries me just a little bit is if Brian Daboll gets a job somewhere else this offseason, it seems like he's going to get a head coaching job. Then maybe that like kind of messes with like the chemistry they have in that passing game. So if we're taking Buffalo out of it, I still think the Ravens are set up really well, like really stable organization, really stable coaching staff. Defensively, they always seem to be good. And like we talked about earlier in the pod, like if they can get a couple more weapons for Lamar Jackson, like build that out around him, it doesn't seem like Greg Roman is going to be going anywhere, at least not getting another coaching job. I just feel like they're going to have a lot of continuity. They can add to this offense. They can get some guys going. J.K. Dobbins is a freaking baller. And if they lean on him a little bit more, then that offense just has a chance to be even better. So I'm still a Lamar believer. I think like long-term, they're still going to be really explosive. They run a pretty unique offense, and he's just going to get better as a passer. So, I mean, he's younger than Joe Burrow.
Jeez.
Or he's like the same age as Joe Burrow. Like Lamar is still really young, and still developing as a passer and all that stuff. So I think probably they're still really set up really well.
Just like people, like Cam Newton too is another one of these guys where we just can't ignore a quarterback's rushing ability when we talk about them as passers. Throw out this, oh, hey, Lamar Jackson sucks as a quarterback because we're only comparing half of his game when none of these guys can even touch what he can do as a runner. So that's been frustrating. I think those are 2 good calls. I would just say, don't sleep on the Washington football team. If they can get a young quarterback or even, I don't know, a Phillip Rivers, or they're talking about Cam Newton coming back. Cam's so tough to evaluate. That's an entirely different conversation. But this defensive line they have built, if they could, I don't even know if they need to add another piece, but it has the same feel as, the 2019 49ers, just a unit so dominant. They could potentially carry them. It just depends on if they can fix the most important spot in football. But, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, you got some young talent. Washington might be a little bit closer than most people realize.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And we've seen how teams can make pretty big jumps on offense. Like if they get the right personnel and like the right combination of guys, obviously it all starts with the quarterback. And there's actually quite a bit of there's going to be some veteran movement at quarterback. Like the quarterback position in the draft is pretty strong this year. And I don't know. I think, yeah, like we could be talking in this time next year about how like they made this massive jump on offense, and they kind of came out of nowhere. And then the defensively, that foundation is there for them.
Absolutely. All right, Danny, last question. Thank you for the time as always, my man. So let's look ahead. Chiefs and Packers each have a bye week. Mahomes, Rodgers, I think we're all kind of seeing Aaron Rodgers is the MVP front runner for good reason, but man, it's pretty much a wash. They've both been so spectacular all year. Let's just call that a wash. We don't need to debate Rodgers and Mahomes right now. Other than those two, what player position group between the Chiefs and Packers, if they theoretically meet in the Super Bowl, do you think has the next best chance of taking over the game?
I thought about this for a while. I think for me, it's Travis Kelce. I think just like his ability. So like, first of all, like Tyreek Hill, I think Devontae Adams is probably like the best receiver in the NFL right now, but like the Chiefs have Hill, and Hill is also one of the best, most unique. Like his skill set is very unique. He's the most explosive guy. Like literally you don't have a defensive player that can keep up with him. So like there's a little bit of a wash there. And I think the difference between like a Robert Tonyan and Travis Kelce is massive. And so that's where I give the Chiefs a slight edge. And Kelsey's such like a problem solver, I guess, on offense, where like if you have like third down, you need somebody to make a play. Like he's going to create a mismatch against pretty much everybody he plays against. Like again, you can't overstate the fact that he's like second in the NFL in receiving yards at the tight end position, which is unheard of. Most yards ever for a tight end. And he's still doing, like he never drops the ball. His catch rate is amazing. Really good route runner, really good after the catch. He's just been so dependable. When Mahomes does his like, outside the pocket improv, like they're on the same page, they're like mind meld. So I don't know. I think, just that Travis Kelce is sort of that X factor for the Chiefs, where even if, they've had some injuries on the offensive line, they just haven't been quite as like in sync as we're used to them seeing, but they still have that Kelce, like mismatch creating thing that they can lean on. And I trust Andy Reid to like get him into the right matchups and stuff. So I'd say Kelce gives them the slight edge, but it's so tough to pick against the Packers right now. I have the Chiefs, like in my prediction, I picked the Chiefs to win it all over the Packers. Kind of obviously really chalk, but like these two are just like buzzsaw teams. And I think that's kind of like the difference right there.
Since Mahomes took over in 2018, only DeAndre Hopkins has more receiving yards than Travis Kelce. Man, I feel
that's
like
crazy.
Back in, I think it was like 2013, 2014, when Jimmy Graham was reaching the end with the Saints, they had this big dispute because Graham was saying, like, I spend more of my time as a wide receiver. Call me a wide receiver and you're going to make more money on the franchise tag. I think this is now doing a disservice to Travis Kelce because he is in any top 10 receiver conversation, tight ends and wide receivers alike. I mean, his deal right now, he's making less money per year than Sammy Watkins' original deal with the Chiefs. Like, okay, I'm not trying to hate on Sammy, but that's ridiculous. Like,
yeah, that is absolutely crazy.
I feel like we should throw out this just kind of positional it's becoming like the kind of edge rusher linebacker type thing. Like
pass catcher.
He's a pass catcher. Exactly. What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like how often are they asking him to like make blocks and stay in? Like he's running mostly routes, and the what he does, like he's mostly lined up in the slot. They even give him like carries from the backfield and like these little shovel passes on, like these little underneath things that they do. So I mean, I'm with you. I know the NFL has a important reason for not wanting to like change the status quo or whatever, but like absolutely agree with you. Like he deserves to be paid as a receiver. He deserves to be paid as one of the top pass catchers in the NFL.
And what is so crazy too, man, like this year, I'm not saying I expected him to fall off or anything, but tight end's demanding position. Rob Gronkowski is only 144 days older than Travis Kelce. And he looks better than ever after the catch. I don't know if this is ever going to slow down. Even when he does slow down, he's going to age better than ever because he's got Mahomes chucking him the ball.
I love Mahomes or Kelce is so interesting because you're right. He's like 31 or 30, whatever it is. He's like getting up there in age. Like he's like essentially the same age as like Zach Ertz. We all think Zach Ertz is like washed, and so it's like, I don't know, the fact that he's still doing what he's doing. Like when he runs, he can corner so fast. He's like got like that really low center of gravity as a runner where he's like kind of like scooting around, and it just feels and to me it doesn't feel fluky at all. Like he could keep doing this for years.
He's living young, man. Before this whole pandemic thing started, he was at Texas Tech basketball games, chugging beers with Mahomes in the crowd. He's living the life of a 20-year-old still. You gotta absolutely love it. Danny, that's gonna do it, man. Everyone, make sure you follow Danny on Twitter if you haven't already, at Danny B. Kelly. Danny, all your stuff's up on the Ringer. You got the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. Anything else you want to pitch?
No, that's it. Yeah, just check out my work at theringer.com, and I'll be having the NFL draft guide be going here probably in the end of January. Start uploading that. So look for that in a few weeks.
Truly one of the best draft guides in the game, everybody. Make sure you check that out. Thank you, Danny, for the time again. Thank you, everybody, for listening out there to the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Again, episodes every Wednesday and Friday, moving on throughout the playoffs. And I will be getting some solo exit interviews up before too long. So that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you again for listening. He's Danny. I'm Ian. And until next time, take care.